If anyone's listening to this that's thinking about starting a business out of desperation because you lost your job or whatever, don't do it, man. Go get a job. Just go get a job, get your bills paid. And when your head is clear that your bills are getting paid, and even though you hate that job, you can work on something else and then, launch whatever it is that you're going to launch. When I did that, I knew I could do it because I had money in the bank and all that stuff. But still, you don't want to do that. You want to have consistent income coming in so you don't have the stress of building a business while stressing out how you're going to pay your bills.
You're listening to Ecomonics, a Debutify podcast, your resource for one-of-a-kind insights into the world of e-commerce and business in the modern age. This is Joseph. I'll be presenting a wealth of industry knowledge from interviews with successful business people and our own state-of-the-art research. Your time is valuable, so let's go. Christian Lovrecich, it is good to have you here in Ecomonics. How you doing today? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you? Thank you for having me on, by the way.
I'm doing pretty good too. As time goes on in this show and my job evolves, because I do back-end stuff too, I'm really amazed at just the transformation that I've experienced in the last year. And you're a fellow podcaster too, so I think you know full well and just how much we can learn and how our perspective can change pretty rapidly too, just because of all of the minds that we get to meet.
100%. I've gotten to meet so many cool people, and then I get to pick what the topic is, which makes it even better. But it's about entrepreneurship and business in general because that's my passion, not just digital. Yeah. No, I've learned some cool stuff. I met some amazing people. Where in the world do you get to speak to a Fortune 50 CEO? And get advice from them one-on-one, it's only on a podcast, right? Which is really cool. Really cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll touch more on that. But first, I have a very important question. Well, I got two really important questions. But one of them is our Ecomonics tradition, which is for you to tell us who you are, and what you do, and what you're up to.
All right. So I guess you could call me an entrepreneur. I come from a background of entrepreneurial family. I always had many little businesses growing up and, side gigs and stuff while I was going to school. And, at one point I started my first quote unquote real business when I was 23. I dropped out of college from Florida State, went to Texas, Dallas from Florida. And I bought a franchise, and it was a car restoration franchise, and I had it until the economy crashed. And during the whole time, I've always been a computer geek, video games, and I built my own computer since I was a kid. So I always wanted to do something online. I always kept, all my friends laugh now because the whole time I was always like, I need to do something online. I need a website, but I don't know what to do. And then, listen, I was a party animal, so I had a million distractions. I was making tons of money at 23, 24, and I was spending it as fast as it was coming in. And then the economy crashed, and pretty much I lost it all. So,
sorry, just for a clarification, we're talking about the 2008
2009.
crash?
2009 crash, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the idiot that I was in my late 20s, where I thought money will never end, I never really saved up, and I had employees to pay, and, I lost a lot of money. So I was like, I took some time off. Then one of my friends hooked me up with, I went back to Florida and to Fort Lauderdale because I wanted to see, I needed to chill. I needed to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I started working with this company, and I'm making the long story short because I don't want to bore you guys to death, but I started helping them with sales and marketing. And sales has been in my blood, that's how you get a business to grow. And then marketing, I did it myself for my own business. So I started working with this company, and I was helping a lot with the marketing side of things. And that's when I got to see a little bit of the Google side of things, of how powerful SEO can be. So I was like, all right, now I have an idea of how this works. And then at some point there, I came across this little course. I paid $300 for it. It's the best investment I ever made in my life. It was the first course from Don Wilson on how to do Facebook ads. And I was already hooked on Facebook because I've had it since college. So I took it, and that was it, man. That changed my life. It literally changed my whole life because that opened up not just Facebook ads, but everything about making money online with products, with sourcing, how to run ads, how to landers, pages, copywriting. I mean, everything that I knew in sales, but actually put it in the digital world and how to get traffic to it. And then the kicker was that the owners of this company that I was working for, they screw me on a big check. It was $7,000. I'll never forget it, out of bonuses that I should have received for all the sales that I brought them. And they made some excuse not to pay me. So I was like, F you, I'm going to make my own and compete against you. I mean, I was super naive. I mean, this is a well-established company, And of course, I did it. I got a hold of one of the suppliers, and I tried to do it myself, but, it didn't work. I found out quickly those type of products, it takes a lot of SEO and years and years and years to make it successful. And, I failed from that, but I made money on it. So it wasn't like a total failure. I made money on it. It just wasn't, I didn't have the knowledge to scale it. And then, I started seeing how much money people were making with like t-shirts, mugs, toys, just gadgets, and I was like, oh, dude, this is so much easier than to sell a corporate, product. So as soon as I started playing with that, I started my first, Shopify store when Shopify first came out. And I said this before because I lost track because I've done so many on the fly, but I think it was, I built a total of 5 at first. And out of the 5, 3 did well. I sold 2 and I still have 1. And I just launched another one like in October. So, and in the meantime, it was just, multiple funnels with one-off products that I would source on, and then, doing consulting for clients and running Facebook ads for it. Because my passion is all business and branding and developing products and all that, but I'm addicted to Facebook ads. That's what I'm good at. And I'm one of the best. And I know that I'm one of the best because I've seen some of these accounts, and there's many people out there that are better than I am, but I'm pretty high up there with them. And, I learn from them all the time because I run in these circles and they learn from me, and I help a lot of people with it. And I love it. I really do. I learn something new every day. And, and when you get into that world and you get to a level where you start talking to these people that are spending that, millions and millions and millions of dollars, these doors open for you when you go to these conferences and stuff like that. And again, I've seen accounts that have been handled by quote unquote some of the top agencies in the world. I'm not going to name any names, but if I name it, all of you will know it if you're in social media. And I couldn't believe it. So it's crazy to me, like some of the accounts that I see out there. But I also seen some that, by a small agency out of, I don't know, I'm going to say Montana just to throw a state out there, where it's amazing. And I'm like, dude, you don't need me. They're doing a great job. Like, I'm not going to be able to do anything more than they're doing already. So you got to give props where props are due. So even though I'm very secure and sure of what I'm capable of doing, just because I'm one of the best doesn't mean I'm the best. And there's not others out there who can do it as well.
Yeah, well, there's an old saying, I remember hearing it from way back in the 90s on an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's like, no matter how good you are, someone will always be better. And
Always.
I think eventually somebody is at the top, but that's where competition comes in, and there's always somebody in second trying to edge away at them and trying to get a little bit ahead. There's a couple of points that I wanted to ask about, and I'll touch very briefly on the situation with those guys who should have cut you a $7,000 check, just because a lot of people might run into these situations themselves, and I'd love to help identify maybe some red flags. But looking back on it, were there any like warning signs that this was going to happen?
Not really. It was just one of those things. The numbers are there, and then they basically, when you're the owner of a business and it's not a corporate 500 company or, a top 500, company or whatever, it's a small, mom and pop owned company. They can pretty much say, hey, we changed the structure, and then so you don't get $7,000. What are you going to do? Like, I can't sue them. I can't do anything. So I was like, but it's just like a dagger in the back, man. Like, I just made you millions of dollars and you can't do that. This is why my goal was never to work for anybody else. I did it at the time because I wasn't just going to start a business just because I felt like starting a business again. That's the worst decision anyone can make. So if anybody's listening to this, that's thinking about starting a business out of desperation because you lost your job or whatever, don't do it, man. Go get a job. Just go get a job, get your bills paid. And when your head is clear that your bills are getting paid, and even though if you hate that job, you can work on something else and then, launch whatever it is that you're going to launch. When I did that, I knew I could do it because I had money in the bank and all that stuff. But still, you don't want to do that. You want to have consistent income coming in, so you don't have the stress of building a business while stressing out on how you're going to pay your bills or digging into your savings, right? So yeah, they pretty much woke up and say, oh no, we changed the structure. So now you don't get 7K. And I was like, F you, whatever. So
Okay, yeah, I only wanted to ask that one question. I didn't want to turn this into like an episode of like the ecom watchdog where we just
no,
like
it's all good,
put salt
man.
on that wound for an hour.
Listen,
So
this
yeah,
happened how long
yeah.
ago? I mean, 10 years, not even, I don't know, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years. I don't even remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, I think what does it say about them too that they have to do that to hold on to the extra 7K? So I hear similar stories, not exactly like this, but I hear a numerous catalysts, and it gets people one step closer to the e-commerce space, where oftentimes, in fact, pretty much all the time, they belong. And where you are now, I'm seeing you got your whiteboard, you got your microphone, and you're freaking happy. Like
Yeah.
I'm watching your videos, I see the energy, and I think this, and you say it yourself that you're among the elite. So you got you into where you should be, and I feel the same way too.
Listen, I mean, it sounds weird when we said elite. I don't like without putting labels to myself because I'm getting very cocky with that. But
fair enough. I just didn't want to like say the exact terminology back to you. That was the only other one I had in the bank.
No, you're good, man. You get to understand though, for me, Facebook ads and ecom has been an obsession from day one. I mean, it's not something my friends can tell you. It's not something that I turn on from 9 to 5 and that's it. Like I'm literally obsessed with it. I've taken many courses for amazing people. I've hired mentors. I spent millions of dollars, thousands of dollars of my own money. Like and it never turns off for me. It never turns off. I'm always reading, constantly educating myself on what to do next, how everything works, what can I do better. I communicate with people in the industry all the time that I consider better than me, learn from them, and that's, I'm obsessed with it. It's an obsession. So that's why I can honestly say I'm not one of those people who's like, okay, I'm going to run Facebook ads today and then 4:00, I'm done for the day. Like that's just not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and with that in mind, I'm going to make sure I use this opportunity to ask you about advertising. I myself, since I joined the company, having just done media prior, I wasn't an e-commerce guy myself, but I can only have so many conversations with so many people and not be inspired to do it, and also to just prove that like if I'm learning all of this and I have such a wealth of information being given to me, I should be able to do it. If I have a higher degree of motivation and obligation to do it, really. So I'm slowly understanding how Facebook ads work. My first question to you about Facebook advertising is about the formula. The formula that I'm trained on, and I'm not here to dispute it. I recognize its effectiveness. You have about 2-3 seconds to hook somebody. Mm-hmm. And then you want to show them the old bad way of how things were, agitate their pain point, and then show them the new good way. And then you show the benefits, and then you end on a call to action. Again, not disputing it. It works. I look forward to making ads myself to do it. No, I can't help but wonder, have you seen other formulae along these lines or other methods?
No, man. And this is when it comes down to me being obsessed with everything. When you start looking into that stuff, it's not just Facebook ads. We're talking about marketing in general. We're talking about old school marketing. The marketing messaging and the techniques behind it and the copywriting and sales, like how to pitch a product, hasn't changed since like the P.T. Barnum days, when he went in his little cart into a Western town and like sold you some kind of like, I don't know, whatever he was selling at the time, like a tonic or whatever. It's all the same. The only thing that's changing is the platform where we're selling on. And that's, I think, what attracted me to it. It was a combination, like I grew up in sales, like that's my background. That's how I was able to do my brick and mortar business. I was a salesperson, like getting all the accounts, right, at first. So what's changing is the technology and how you get that message out there. The advantage that we have now is that, well, up until the iOS update, it's like we can track where everything's coming from. And we have the technology. We're spoiled, basically, where you can see it's like, okay, it came from this ad that was placed on this person's Instagram feed around this time. And they clicked and they came to my website. They looked around. I recorded them, watched them, and they bought the product, took the upsell, and dipped out, right? But the actual messaging and the sales pitch behind it, still the same. Hook, story, offer. That's your 3 basics. Hook, story, offer. If you don't remember anything else, always remember hook, story, offer. Back to your bait and pain points and stuff like that. I like to break it down a little bit different. I go bait, hook, pain, solution to the pain, benefits, social proof, scarcity, and call to action. That's like if you really want to break down the copy and long copy. But we can absolutely do it your way. Show the pain solution to the pain call to action. I mean, that works too. Split
Yeah, well, it's
test.
great. Just from what I'm hearing is that the way we structure the formula can be minimized into 3 terms.
Mhm.
And you have to excuse me. I'm doing my best to keep up and absorbing all the information, but it's
You're good.
pain, story, offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pain. So yeah, you tell the story and then you make the offer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
And I also like to the extended one too. One thing that stuck out to me, by the way, is that you said it was problem and then solution to problem. And I can't remember exactly where I read it, but I read somebody use the word bomb. Like actually, I think I might have just referenced Mad Men. Which like
I haven't watched the show in a long time, but I love that show.
Yeah, me neither. I used to identify with Don Draper until I realized that people would ask Matthew Weiner, like, yeah. So people, they say they want to be like Don Draper, and I'm like, why? Like, well, because he's a creative genius. The infidelity, no, God no. But the creative.
Well, I can tell you, I had the drunk part down to a T in my 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
In my 20s, I was like hammered all the time. So, yeah. So I guess you could, man. That's one thing I can tell you. Like salespeople are with their generates. I mean, that's why we're extroverts. That's why a lot of them, a lot of us are good at it. But with all that extrovert side of us and networking and all that stuff, there's a degenerate side to most of us, man. And that's why salespeople, I'm telling you, man, if you want to have a good time, go out to a bar with a bunch of salespeople. You will not be let down. I can assure you that.
Well, I've done sales for, let me see, mostly in the watch industry. Altogether, I would say about 4, maybe about 5 years in a couple of different stores selling watches, increasingly more premium as time went on. And oh yeah, you were not wrong about that. Although I don't know, like I've always not to get too much into my own psychology because I'm not the guest here or anything like that, but like. I don't know. I don't view myself as an extrovert. I have viewed myself as an introvert. Like I do like
Why
being
though?
alone. I do like
Why do you think
my
that
computer
is?
time.
Because we all suffer from a little bit. I suffer from we all do imposter syndrome. Like
Right.
I feel it sometimes, man. There's some times when I'm like getting ready to record a YouTube video, and for some reason, it just hits me, or like, oh man, what if I like somebody starts to argue with me like that? I don't know what I'm talking about, or whatever, and then you realize that 99% of the people who are watching you or listening to you, they're not in your world. One of the best advice I ever received was from one of my mentors, and his name is John Lover. He specializes on scaling agencies. And John told me one day, told all of us, because we're a small group, paid a lot of money to be there. He told all of us, stop hanging out with your marketing friends. Stop talking to your marketing friends. Stop talking to your Facebook ads guys daily. Like just stop for a week, just get away from it and get out of the bubble. Because what basically the message was that we're in our bubbles all day long. Like I told you, I talk to all these people that I know that are at the top of the cream, the top of the top. And we talk about Facebook ads all day and marketing and branding and all that stuff, that we forget that there's people out there that are newbies. They're still learning. They're just like I was. I was a total noob too, man. I didn't know any of this stuff back in the day. This is, over a decade of knowledge that I accumulated, over the years. So it's okay to fill it a little bit because you're never going to know it all. None of us will. There's always room for improvement and learning, and you should always be improving and learning. And you're going to learn from your mistakes and failures too. Listen, I've learned from a lot of them. I had failures. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that a great deal, and I think what you say too, just about like getting out of the bubble and just like resetting and a recalibration. But the point that I wanted to make about like why I guess I thought of myself more, I think of myself as more of an introvert is the difference between somebody who is at home and has a yearning to go out versus somebody who's out and has a yearning to go home. I tend to have a yearning to go home.
Yeah, and this whole thing has crushed me, man. I like to go out. I like to, especially being in Florida, going to the beach, going out of places, downtown and all that. I mean, I miss it. I miss it a lot. And it's, I can be an introvert if I'm in the mood when I don't want to talk to anybody, or I just want to play a video game, or I just want to work on something. I just get in the zone and I'm fine with that. But I need that people energy. I need to talk to people. There's nothing more than I love like going to a restaurant or let's be real here. Like, go with friends to a bar or whatever, and you're having a good time and you meet people there and conversations and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I miss that. I miss the social aspect of things. I miss going to concerts. I used to go to a lot of concerts. Yeah, it's been killing me, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'll add one thing onto that, and then I'll chamber the next question, which is like here in Toronto. I'm sure they exist in other places too, but Toronto is like hipster central in Canada, and there's bars that you can go to where they have arcade machines. You pay a one-time fee, you get in, you can play arcades to your heart content, and then buy drinks, buy food there. I loved just going there, even on my own, just to drink and try to get as good as I can at root beer tapper, and then walk away and see like one of the local masters of root beer tapper, just like get all the way to like, oh my God, there's a level 6. I didn't realize that. So yeah, I miss awesome. That too. Yeah.
No, man, that's cool. We have a place like that here. They have a bunch of arcade machines and games and all that stuff.
So you're in Florida right now, right?
Yeah, Florida.
Okay, right now. All right. So here's a question that I like asking people who had a length of experience in Facebook, because I'm always interested in learning more about the transformation of it. So I'm going to be general. What are some of the major changes you've seen on Facebook in regards to advertising? And I will chamber this. Some of the ones that I've seen has just been like the price increase, for instance, that over time it has become more expensive. But I want to say that there's had to have been more to it than just the price.
A lot. There's a lot going on. Listen, the platform is evolving literally daily. Like they're always updating. They're always making changes, but lately, the topic is iOS 14. For those of you that don't know, and we talked about this before we got started, is Apple introduced this move where they're going to block all apps, not only Facebook, all apps from tracking your data, okay, to keep it quote unquote private. We all know in the industry what the ulterior motive is there, because, Steve Jobs bought an advertising firm, before he died. So my personal prediction is they will release an ad network inside their ecosystem somehow. I see that coming from a mile away. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's my guess on there. So obviously, as Apple will do, or any other business do, they have so much power. It's like, well, if we're going to do that, let's cut everybody else off. And basically what happens is what they're doing is they're cutting your, what we call attribution. So now we can't track Apple users' behavior through all platforms like, analytics and Facebook and all that. So when you're running campaigns on Facebook, you need that data to optimize your campaigns. The algorithm needs that data to improve your campaigns. So right now it's, not only the costs go up every year due to supply and demand, because more people want to buy inventory, but there's only so much inventory. Facebook is pretty good about working on that and buying people out. So we have more room for inventory to place ads. That's why they bought Instagram. That's why they bought, WhatsApp, just placements. And that's why they always test new apps to put out. Like they have one called, Bars. It's like you can go in there and they have tracks and you just wrap over the tracks. And it's kind of like TikTok, you scroll. So they're testing that one right now. What's the whole goal? User base, more placement for ads. That's how they make their money. But the problem is like right now there's a delay in data. So right now it's like, if a conversion happens in some accounts, we're seeing up to 3 days delays to see if that sale came from that specific campaign or not. So it makes it very difficult to track your campaigns and to see what's working. Like before all of this happened, you will have a campaign with multiple ad sets and you will look at your ad sets and see which one's the one that's performing the best. You say, okay, that one, you either crank up the budget or you grab that ad set and turn it into its own campaign with a higher budget and then scale it. That's how we call scaling. That's how we go from spending $500 to $1,000 a day and getting double your sales, if it's enough data there. So it's been making it very, very difficult lately, with Facebook updating on their end, trying to not fight it, but deal with without the signals, how to train the algorithm without the signals and still optimize for whatever your ultimate goal is. So right now, in lame terms, Facebook's about 30% blind right now. It's just, you throw the ad out there and then hope, that 70% catches what you're looking for. But from talks that I've had and meetings that I had with other very smart people in the industry and machine learning and all that stuff, it's like, like companies like Facebook and Amazon, um, what they do is when they see a big coming, like a big change like this coming, what they do is they train the algorithm based on those changes, and they take the signals away so they're ready for it. But at the end of the day, it's still AI or machine learning. It's machine learning, so you have to train it. And in order for it to get better, it needs all those data points, to get better. So you have to throw that live, and then it has to learn in a real situation instead of just, a virtual machine. So all those changes throws everything around. And you got to remember, Facebook, it's an auction. It's an actual auction. So, it's basically, you're bidding. It goes to the highest bidder. So I say, hey, I raise my hand. Hey, I want to sell this watch, right? Will you put it in front of Joseph because he likes watches? And then it will look at everybody in their creative and be like, okay, well, how much are you willing to bet? And then, if somebody's doing automatic bidding, then Facebook's going to calculate how much to go for. Or if you have somebody like me, like sometimes I do manual bidding, I'll make the bid, 5 times higher on purpose to kick everybody out of the auction. And that's how you win that sale, because the amount of data that they have, it's so accurate and so good that Facebook knows like 99% to a T that you're going to buy that product, even if it's the first time that you see it. Why is that? Because it has all these data points on you. They know what you buy, when you buy it, what credit card, at what time, what day. They know everything. And the pixel, we're going to talk about the pixel. You brought that up before we got started. This is how it's all tracked, and that's what Apple's trying to block. But there's already ways around it. This is how they make their money. Google, Facebook, all of them. They're not just going to sit there and be like, oh, okay, I guess we're screwed. No, I mean, basically what's going to happen, they're going to find a way to keep your data private, which is good for all of us. I have nothing against that. But still make it work. So instead of saying, Joseph likes watches, it'll be, okay, here's a pool of people that are into watches. And then you can throw your ad out there and see what happens. We'll learn from that. I think that's what's going to happen. I've read somewhere that that's kind of like the intentions that they have or where they're going with it. So it's just a matter of time before it gets fixed. The other thing we talked about this, I said, I tweeted out right before we got on here. It's I don't even remember what I said. It was something.
Oh,
like,
I remember because I have it written down right here. Apple has single-handedly destroyed a whole industry. Let that sink in.
Yeah. And what I meant by that, it's like it literally wrecked that whole industry. That's what I meant by it. Did I mean it's the end of the world? No, absolutely not. Like, it's temporary. We'll figure out. Everybody will figure out. And then at the end, we'll all go through it. But it's the second time it does it. The first time it was, cell phones. And, now we have iPhones, and everybody started making a smartphone. So it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's just like, it just dawned on me, like, that's how much power Apple has. You know what I mean? So that's what I meant by that.
At my point, I see myself in like the 102 class. Like, I think I made it past 101, but I don't know. So just to understand like where my mindset is at, like the basics have sunk in, but there's still definitely a lot more, lot more for of a ways to go. The part that there's a number of things that surprise me. One of them is that they're not getting along. I had always believed that big tech in Apple would find a way to find an agreement. So this isn't the first time that they've had these conflicts, judging by your language as well as body language. So.
No, Tim Cook and Zuck hate each other. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know why, but there's something there that they just don't like each other. I don't know what to be up. Tim Cook just doesn't like Facebook. He said it publicly where, no company should make money off people's data. Okay. Like, dude, you make overpriced phones. It wasn't for Steve Jobs coming back in the 90s, that company will be dead. And then as soon as Steve dies, all innovation went out the window. So it's like, okay. It's just power grabs, man. It's like, how much power do you need? And then you got Google. Google just plays nice, but then you have Apple. Oh, Google, by the way, I know we pay you for the browser or whatever. I think it's the browser, like 12 billion a year or something crazy like that. And, but no, we're going to make our own and then just block you. It's just politics, man. Politics in Silicon Valley. If you ask me, I think, I'm all for the American dream and building a company and growing and the whole 9 yards. But some of these companies, they just have too much power, man. And it's a scary thing. It's a very scary thing when you see what I see every day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how far we can get into this. I'm not against getting into it. I'd love to hear it, and
I'll get into it. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm more happy getting into it too. It's just it's because you never know. Like sometimes some guests will be like, we don't want to get too political. I'm like, I understand
I don't care.
Politics is a horrendous nightmare for all involved. Okay, so first of all, as like as a proud member of like the tinfoil hat community, hearing that like people in big tech are like at each other's throats is gonna help me sleep tonight. No melatonin spray for Joseph tonight. I'm just gonna be out like a rock. So
it's competition. They're all competition with each other. You got to think about it that way. I mean, Facebook became Facebook. No one saw that coming. Then Google tried to beat him at it by creating whatever Google Plus, I think it was called, which it was just a big failure because it was designed by engineers, not real people.
Yeah,
and that's what you get. Who liked that? Real and techie, super techie people. It wasn't easy enough for anybody to use. Facebook was the sixth social network at the time. It wasn't the first. You had MySpace before that, and then you have 6 degrees of separation. You had Friendster. Facebook just won the game because they made it exclusive. It was only college kids, and you would just open up a little bit, and they built that FOMO that everybody wanted to hop on. And you got to remember, at one point, MySpace was cool because you could customize it, but that led to, the time we had slow computers, it was still desktop. We didn't have the phones that we have today. So when people would like customize their pages with songs and HTML and all this stuff, it will literally like crash your computer because it would take so long for load. And then Facebook was just simple. And then it was only college kids. So your parents weren't there at the time. It's like Snapchat when Snapchat came out. Snapchat was cool because your parents weren't there and then nothing was saved, So that's why they won the game. But they're all each other's throats. I mean, all the time. But they got to play nice with politics because, okay, yeah, Apple can sit here and say, we're going to block all tracking. But guess what? What's an iPhone without apps? It's just a brick. They need Google. They need Facebook. They need, all these apps, and they have a lot of power. They really do. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just ranting at this point. But yeah, I mean, they need each other, but they hate each other. It's competition at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just soaking it in. There is one question here that I had chambered that I'd like to know too, because this is something that I didn't understand about the data collection. So in Facebook, I guess what I was thinking is that they are only getting data internally based off their activity. And so for Apple to block them, even though people are using Facebook, it's because they're on an Apple device that Apple is putting up a smoke shield between the data that Facebook wants to collect and Facebook itself. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, but it's not only Facebook; it's everyone.
Right. Yeah. I was just saying Facebook as an example.
Right. So yeah, I mean, so basically, it's not only while you're using the app. The app, okay, when you sign up for the app or download any app for that matter, it tells you we need access to your camera, your microphone, your pictures, or whatever. Some people freak out because they think Facebook is listening. And that's not the case, man. These algorithms are super powerful and they can figure out, it's just math. It's just a calculation of probability of what you're probably most likely to act upon. That's what it is. Now, Messenger at one point did have the microphone on and you had to go in there and switch it off yourself. But I'm pretty sure they changed that like a while back. They got sneaky with that one. That's the problem with Facebook. That Facebook does things and says sorry when it gets caught. That's the issue.
What's the term? Better to beg forgiveness than ask permission?
Yeah. And, in their defense, and listen, I'm not defending, I'm very neutral on this stuff. It's not because I make most of my living with them or using them, but I'm pretty neutral. Like the whole data Cambridge Analytica deal, that wasn't their fault. That Cambridge Analytica was not supposed to have access to all that data. They found a vulnerability on the API and they took advantage of it. They pulled the data. Now that's Facebook's fault for not, being secure or catching it right away. I'll agree to that. Mm-hmm. But people have this misconception that Facebook sells your data to random people. That's not what they do. Their data lives on their servers, lives inside their ecosystem. And when someone like me wants to use it and run ads, I can go in there and choose people by targeting or create an audience based on their behavior, but it's not you specifically. It's just like an interest. Like literally, I see dogs or people who own a house or people who drive a Mercedes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, here's Joseph's data. Let me see what he's into. Oh, he lives here. He makes this much. Like, it's not like that. It's just a pool of data that you get, you pick. Oh, show my ad to people who make, I don't know, $50,000 a year, live in Florida and have a boat. That's all it is. You know what I mean? 35 to 54 males. That's all you're doing. It's not like I'm looking at you specifically. So and listen, it's not Facebook. They all do it. Apple does it. Google does it. Every single app out there does it. Everybody just likes to pick on Facebook because they don't like Zuck.
Mhm.
He's not a very likable guy for what I mean, So
I'm not gonna pile on, but suffice it to say, there's a few quips even running through my mind, namely around drinking water. But anyways,
listen, people just hate the guy, and to me, it's just pure jealousy because the guy has made billions and billions and billions of dollars. Guy has a lot of ton of power. I don't know him personally. I've never met him. But I know people who've actually met him, and the guy's like a super duper introvert, man. There's some of us are just like that. Most smart people are like that. He's just like a super introvert, and he's very like, everything he says. It's like, I guess, like being the president of the U.S. or like anything you said can get twisted into a million things. So when you're at that level, you just got to be so chilled off of how you act, what you say, how you behave. But at the end of the day, the dude's a shark, dude. You don't build a company like Facebook by just being a pushover. So,
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to say too, just in regards to data, is that when you look at these different platforms, the data that one can collect on Facebook is, I disagree, and feel free to school me on this, but it's just not relevant outside of it because people's mindset changes, their activity changes, their habits change, how they use Facebook. And just going back to what you're saying about Google Plus, people go onto Google with some intent already. They're looking for something. Are they ready to buy? Well, not quite. It's more like an Amazon thing. So the idea of like being in a leisure mindset on Google just doesn't translate, which is why I think one of the many reasons why Google Plus is just not going to work. Although I will say to Google's credit is that they basically just try every idea on the planet, right?
They do.
This sticks, that sticks, that sticks, that.
But that's what they were going for because behavioral data, it's very powerful. You got to think about it. You're checking into places. I mean, at one point, I hate that they took this away as an advertiser, but at one point, I could literally target you. I will look at your data, not you specifically, but a group of people. So I could go Fort Lauderdale, and then I will pick American Social. It's one of my favorite spots downtown Las Olas. So I will pick people who have checked in American Social in the past year, and it will say 300,000 people, right? Okay, what are their interests? And it will show me the interests of that pool of people. Okay, so I will look. I'm like, all right, these people are, okay, they go to American Social, so all the time. You can choose like more. I think it was more than, I don't remember exactly if you could choose like checked in more than once, but I know you could select if they checked in. And then I will look at the interest. And as a marketer, I'll be saying, okay, what are their interests? And then let's say if they were into, I don't know, I'm trying to pick an interest like
scuba diving.
Scuba diving, exactly. So I would say like scuba diving. Okay, then I could make my offer like for a scuba diving product or company, like X scuba company locally here in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to have an event at American Social, this day where you can win a free scuba diving trip. And then I would pack the place with an ad, because like, oh, people are into going to this place and they like scuba diving. It's a win-win. Of course they're going to show up. So it was just powerful that way for a marketer to be able to see that data and then use it to create an amazing offer. You can still do that. It's just, it's not as, detailed as it used to be, but you can still, the algorithm has gotten better of doing the work for you, and it's going to get better. Even with the whole Apple thing, once the new algo gets trained and, we get faster, computing processing, quantum computing at one point, it's just it's math calculations, man. The faster a machine can do it, the better it's going to get. That's all it comes down to, because all that data is collected.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to ask you about the Pixel. That's on deck, but I did want to ask you one more question. This is more like an opinion on these big companies, because we established that we're both open to talk about this. So And we can skip it, by the way, if it's like you don't really feel like you can weigh in on it. It's all good, but I just want to give it a shot, which is, what would you like to see, maybe from the perspective of like how the government can handle it, assuming the government has any power here, would, what would you like to see happen to these big companies just so that they're not overstepping their boundaries? Or how would the government, what would be a fair, preferably libertarian way for the government to step in and deal with this? And to be fair, I'll give you like my first thoughts on this, which is, I think it really just comes down to information. It's no secret, I've talked to people who are Amazon experts, and they have been open about some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Workers are overworked. There's a lot of stress. There's COVID outbreaks. We hear stories about the lack of like bathroom breaks and the results of that. So there's some ugly stuff there. Imagine a world where we didn't know about that. I would say the state, while not directly controlling any of what they do, should be able to provide that information to the public. So say, look, we're not going to tell you what to do, but we are going to tell you all of this stuff through our audits and through the information that we've collected, so you can make a more informed decision. That's one thing I'd like to see the state do, but that's me being in 102 and not really getting at that level and not understanding it to that depth. So whatever you got on the subject, I'd love to hear it.
All right, so I'll give you my opinion. So before I get into it, just so everybody knows, I'm in the middle. I'm not one side or the other. I just practice common sense. Like, one side can say something and I'll be like, yeah, I agree with that. And the other side can say something, I'm like, totally agree with that. And then the other side can say something and be like, I don't agree with that. And I don't agree with that. I always said, I wish.
And I will say too, I appreciate that. And I think it's important to understand that the middle is always the goal. Life is about balance. And so when you find people that are far to one side or another, it's usually a sign that something is off balance. And
well, here's the issue.
Okay.
What doesn't help is these algorithms. I know how they work. So the problem is, once you get into a bubble, they feed you that bubble. And this is how you get all these conspiracy theories. And this is how you get, extreme, and I'm talking about like extreme behavior. It's just because it fuels that information over and over and over. And listen, I create YouTube videos, but the reality of a YouTube video is like anyone can make a video. Anyone can upload a video to YouTube. So I can go up there and upload a YouTube video today and saying that the earth is flat. And then people think that I know what I'm talking about because it's on YouTube. I mean, I talk about Facebook ads, but guess what? I got proof. I show it on every video. So it's a little bit different, but you know what I'm saying? So when people see on TV or on YouTube, it's called social proof. It's just like ads. That's why we use influencers. That's why we use celebrities. It's the same thing. People just have this mentality of like, well, if it's on TV, it's real. If it's in the media, it's real.
Right.
Listen, the media and the media and blogs and sites and websites, it's all about clicks. This is how they make their money. This is how I make money, by driving that traffic. So if I can tweak that headline, and I don't deal with anything political. I'm talking about I do products. I don't do anything that had, let me put that disclaimer out there, with anything with news or political, any of that. All I sell is products, phones or whatever, they can manipulate that with a headline. I saw a headline on Fox News the other day where like the headline was toxic masculinity, because some people complain about a car club making noise in Austin. Okay. I'm willing to bet $1 million that somebody just came up with a headline to get the shock value and they got everybody riled up. That's why they do it. What is that? Engagement. It drives engagement up. Well, I was getting at with government and all that stuff, I'm in the middle. So, and I know how these companies work. And yes, they do have too much power. The issue is education. The people who are in the Senate, Congress, or whatever, they're old, man. They're old. They don't know how any of this stuff works. 90% of people don't know how this stuff works. And that's the problem, education. So like right now, the Apple move, it's really hurting. I mean, Facebook tried to do a campaign about it, but it just came off the wrong way. It's really hurting small businesses that need it the most. They're not hurting people like me, where I have accounts where we spend thousands and thousands a day. You know what I mean? You're not hurting those guys. You're hurting the small mom and pop restaurant or store, local store, whatever, that was using, companies like Facebook to throw an ad out there for $5 a day and hopefully get people to come into their place or generate a lead. Those are the people that are really getting screwed here. I mean, those are the people you're really hurting. So when Apple makes like a move like that, it's like, dude, I get what you're trying to do, but like, You already made plenty of money. Like, look out for these people. So that's when government should be able to step in and be like, no, 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 no. You can't do that, man. You're hurting small business. I get your beef with Facebook. I'm sure we can find a way to meet in the middle. But for now, we got to take care of these people because this is their living, their livelihood. And this is not a competing business against Apple. This is a freaking restaurant, This is not about Facebook at this point. The problem is they don't know how any of this works in education. So until we get people in there that know how this technology works, and the only person that I can even begin to think that's like somewhat educated in these, it's AOC. And listen, I don't agree with AOC 90% of the shit that comes out of her mouth.
Yeah.
But she does know a little how this goes. And then Yang, he ran for Democrats. He knows this whole industry. That's why he was pushing for they're making money off your data. Why can I get a check for my data? They get a check every day. So I'm all down for a check for my data if I'm going to let them use it. So it's education and it's putting restrictions as well. There's certain things that they shouldn't be able to do. They should be broken up. At a certain level, they need to be broken up. Like the Amazon thing, dude. Again, I admire Bezos for like building Amazon from nothing to what it is today, the behemoth that it is today. The guy's the richest man in the world. That to me, it's like, holy crap. I wish I could do something like that. But I think about it all the time. I'm like, dude, at one point, do you just say like, oh, we're going to lose a little bit of profit? Like, I'm going to give away like 2 billion out of my 300 billion and make sure people are paid accordingly, that, they get taken care of. They can take days off. They don't have to work in their, but it's crazy to me. So I agree with you. It's just something, I don't know how they think that way, man. I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, the state could always send a sleeper agent to get married to Jeff Bezos and see if they can extract another half of his.
Listen, methods. Amazon. I don't think Amazon it's even profitable yet. I don't really think it is yet. If I remember, I might be completely wrong. So don't throw me in the fire if I'm wrong. But
and so I will say that having looked into the history of Amazon, there was like a certain year where they were able to report profitability. But overall, with Amazon, with the way their business is constructed, is that they're focused on cash flow. So right. A lot of what they do, especially in the physical side, is not profitable. But they can be profitable on their digital side, like on hosting, for instance. It's easier to, I don't know if I say inflate, but you can mark up the prices more because you're selling something, a digital service, like Amazon Prime, for instance. Yeah.
They also get away with, not get away, but they create so many jobs. So when it comes to filing taxes and all that stuff, that gets rid of a lot, of the stuff that they have to, show. So, but when Jeff Bezos is worth billions and billions and billions, and it's not like cash, but it's stock options and assets and all that. But at that point, man, like he should just be like, we got to do something about this. I would love to walk into my warehouse and everybody be like, "What's up, man?" Like everybody having, getting the job done, but like be taken care of. Like I don't know, man. I always joke around that I'm greedy, but there's a point where like people come first. You know what I mean? That's just my motto, I guess. Like, take care of your people first, man.
Well, it's just a wise investment. You increase their loyalty, you make them happy, it boosts productivity. Studies show the happier people are, the less it ends up costing the company in the long term because people want to stay. And, they feel like they have more of an investment in it. They have more of a stake in the well-being of the company.
Yeah, I think it also with me comes from like growing up. I had, the crappy jobs that, I worked at a restaurant, I bartended in college, like I worked retail growing up in high school. Like I'd done them all, man. So I remember, it was hard work. So it's like, take care of your people, man. It's that simple. I wish I knew all the politics and legalities about it, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't. But I just see the overall picture of a company like Amazon, and I see, videos from inside the warehouses and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, man, come on, like take care of them.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your insight all the same. And as I was hearing this, something clicked in my mind in regards to Apple. I can do one or two things. Like I asked you about the Pixel, but people can go to your YouTube and they can look at all the information all day.
I can talk about the Pixel, whatever you want to. Yeah, just ask me.
Totally. Well, on the one side, I do want to do that, but on the other side, we have something unique going on here, and my gut says keep going with this. So, all right. Here's what I observed based on what you told me about Apple. It sounds like Apple, they are continuing to curate the brand experience. They are a prestigious brand. They want the people who buy it to be able to, afford a more luxurious lifestyle. And so what that means is the data that's being given to them would actually yield more prestigious advertising. I'm going to say this, and again, this is one of those things you're welcome to dispute, but like I see Facebook advertising nonstop, and a lot of it just sells products that are $20, $30, and the money that goes into the advertising is there's only so much money spent on it versus premium advertising that can be spent appealing to the same people who enjoy Apple products. So I think what they're doing is they're just trying to create a more cohesive brand experience, not just when people buy the product or use the product, but also the content that they experience whilst on the product, while they're on their phones, while they're on their iPads. So they're going to see advertising for Tesla, for instance. You're going to see a lot more Tesla ads and a lot less pet toys.
Okay. So I can see, okay. So as a user, that's where you're coming from. All right. This is what people don't see behind the scenes. Facebook has been trying to fight this for years now. Actually, on the back end, there's a quality score for your page. And what that quality score tracks is the customer experience as far as the user goes, because the user's using Facebook to buy that product, okay? What happened back in the day in the Wild Wild West days before they figured it, because you got to remember, all these companies learn as we go. It's not like, hey, we knew this was coming, they just see it happen, they try to fix it, and you're not dealing with 5 advertisers. You're dealing with millions of advertisers. So think about it. It's not that easy to deal with, right? And it's like a Hydra. You chop one head off and 3 more appear.
Yep.
So Hydra. You shut down my ad account, and then I'll get somebody else's ad account, and then, launch the same store with a different domain. So that's what happens. And it's going to happen. So Facebook has been trying to fix it for years now. And it's even affected people like me, where I'm like, hey, dude, like I'm following all the rules. Why are you taking points ahead from me? The products got there in time. But they work with you to try to fix it. And they've been working on it for years. So Apple's about the experience. But this is what people don't know. Most of the money that Facebook makes, it's not from brands like Tesla. Well, Tesla doesn't even advertise. Like brands like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or, these huge companies. 80, don't quote me on this because I don't know the percentage, but I can tell you right now, I've seen the reports. Like most of the money they make, I'm just going to throw a number. This is not the exact number, but I'm going to say 70% of Facebook's revenue from ad revenue, it's from small pop and mom businesses and little stores. It just adds up massively. Because you got to remember, it's the whole world. It's not just the US. So, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they can only spend so much for the year. But when you have all these little businesses spending money at the same time, those are the ones that make the majority of the revenue for Facebook and Google and all those companies. So the only thing that Apple can do is, okay, I know this is what Apple's going to do if they release their own ad network. It's like everybody has ad guidelines. Like Facebook has tons of policies that you have to follow. And they have gotten more strict over the years because they don't want their ads to look spammy. And I totally get that. And Apple's going to try to be hardcore if they do release an ad network, which that's my intuition that's what's going to happen eventually because of what I know Steve Jobs did back in the day. By the way, Steve Jobs was obsessed with the advertising from Target and Mini Cooper. So that's a fun fact for you right there. Those are the companies that he liked the advertising from. And actually you can listen, but there's a podcast from the guy who got bought out by Steve Jobs before he died, who invented the first ad network that you see on your old school Samsung phones, the flip phone Motorola's. Like, you remember when you used to go on the internet and I don't know how old you are, but 31. Like back in the day, before the iPhone, you will go on the internet on your phone and it will cost your parents like $100 a minute. And then a little banner ad will pop up and pixelate it. That was the first ad network. And basically, long story short, you can dig for this interview somewhere. It's on YouTube somewhere. I can't remember the name of the guy or the name of the interview, but he tells the story when Steve Jobs bought him out. And he's like, long story short, we want to buy you out. So, because we like what you're doing. Steve Jobs was famous for never telling you what he was going to do, but he will say, we like what you're doing. And here, I'm going to offer you X. And I guess Homeboy went back to his board of investors and goes, they go, no, we're not going to take that. We're worth way more than that. And Homeboy gets back to Steve Jobs and he goes, sorry, Steve, we can't do that. So apparently Steve Jobs just leans over and goes, oh, really? So let's tell you what, you don't do that, I won't let you shitty ad network in any of my phones. And this is after the iPhone came out. So it's like, where are you going to go, dude? You have nowhere. So the guy's like, yeah, I guess you're right. Okay. Where do I sign the ink? And then he brought him onto Apple. I believe he still works for Apple. So yeah, I mean, the signs are there, and then Steve Jobs died. But yeah, they're very specific about, if you listen to that interview, it gives you an insight of how Apple thinks in terms of design and brand experience, customer experience, user experience. And when the guy was trying to show him ads or, placements and stuff like that, Steve Jobs hated them. And then somebody at Apple, because he will never tell you directly, he just told you you're a piece of shit and you suck and get out of his face. But apparently another designer would tell him, it's like, he loves Mini Cooper ads and Target's branding. So do something like it. And apparently when he did it, that's what made him happy. So I'm assuming that's what Tim Cook wants to carry over. This is just my opinion, by the way. So, who knows? But that's what the kind of legacy they want to carry over. That's their branding. That's their user experience, and I'm sure if they do release an ad network, it's going to be very strict on what you can do. And there's going to be so many hoops to jump on to just throw an ad out there. But is it going to be powerful? Yeah, man. I'll be one of the first ones to jump on that, from myself and my clients. Absolutely.
Oh, and the question to wrap that up is, where will those ads even be displayed? Would they end up appearing on Facebook in their own way?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, that's something that, that's why these guys make millions and billions of dollars. Because you got to remember, I have an iPhone. I gave in after a while because my Samsung was going to explode and I had to get on a plane. I got an iPhone and all my friends have iPhones. So I'm like, and I'm in front of a computer all day. So I don't use it like I used to use my Android all the time. But, you look at your iPhone and it's all about the user experience, the way, like the little icons, the folders. Even when you go into an app, it's very easy to use, right? They will have to integrate it seamlessly. And I don't know, man. They own that real estate, so they can say, you know what? We're going to place it on your app. You don't like it? You don't have to be on our phone. And that's a lot of power, man, because there's a lot of iPhones out there, So
I can't remember if I ever shared this story, either like doing my own solo content or with any of the guests. Definitely not with a guest. But I did at one point try to apply for a job at Apple, and maybe with a guest. Anyways, so I did try to apply for a job at Apple, and the hiring seminar conference was going to take place at a nearby Holiday Inn. And I am thinking, well, I guess I'll just sit down at the desk and get my 10 to 30 minutes interview, then I'll go, and then there'll be a lineup. Oh, no, it was nothing like that. It was a continuation of the brand experience. Everybody was on a table. It was like a U shape all around the big conference room. They would put this trailer on to show like all the happy people working there. And I'm sitting there and I'm in these rows of people and there's a big screen, and I started having flashbacks to that 1984 ad they did where people were all sitting on rows and there's a big screen and somebody comes in with a mallet. So I thought, these things, they do come full circle, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you read Steve Jobs' biography, the one he actually authorized?
No, and I'm going to try to guess the name of it. Was it I Am Steve Jobs?
Yeah. I think that was the name of it.
Right,
and
so
the guy who wrote it, it's been around him like the whole journey or whatever. And it's pretty, from everybody that's read it, they say it's pretty dead on accurate. Like it's the truth. Like he didn't hold back. It's like, yeah, you can say everything. Listen, I'm not an Apple fanboy at all. Like I despise Macs because I always thought they were overpriced, and I build my own computers. So when I read the specs for a Mac and I'm like, dude, I can build that for a quarter of the price.
Yeah.
And last laptop, I even look at a MacBook Pro. I'm like, I just want to have a Mac, just to have a Mac as, have my PC, and I want a Mac because I want to have both, and I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't pull the trigger. But anyway, if you go back and read that book, it really gives you an insight of how he thought, like what was in his head and then his priorities. And Steve Jobs didn't invent anything. He reverse engineered products that were already out there and made them better. Like Android fanboys, I was always an Android fanboy. It's like, well, the Samsung has the best camera, 3,000 megapixels and whatever. They're not about having the first of everything. It's about the experience and making sure it works like it's supposed to work. Listen, I've had like 4 or 5 Androids before my iPhone, and I can tell you, they all crash at some point. They never work correctly because Samsung will put their own UI on top of Google, and I haven't had a Pixel, so I don't know how that works. But I still know that Androids are superior in speed and all that stuff. But dude, I can honestly say, ever since I went full time on an iPhone, because like all my friends and now with a kid, FaceTime my parents and all that, it just works. Like people said, it just works. It never crashes on me. I never have to deal with it like a bunch of stuff I used to. But again, I'm not a power user like I used to be. So that makes it different. But the experience, it's always a nice experience on the phone, man. And that's what Apple's all about. And that's the way they want to keep it. And that's why they keep it as a locked, closed ecosystem. And they're going to do everything in their power to keep it that way because they make more money that way too.
Definitely something we'll want to keep our eye on. And if you by any chance remember the name of that podcast interview, the audio content comes out. Actually, we booked these like 2 months in advance.
I have it in my history. I'll send it to you. I have it in my history.
Okay, awesome. We'll I'll make a note to my producer. Hey, Mike, he's gonna send us the link. Make sure to put that in there. Anyway, so we hit an hour, and I just want you to know that this has just been absolutely fantastic. I love getting your insight onto this, and I've just been absorbing it in. But if you don't mind, I want to go for some bonus time here.
Sure, go for it. Yeah,
and just get like a primer on the Facebook pixel because I haven't had an expert on the subject. Just kind of like give like the 101 breakdown. So, so my question about the pixel is, scrolling up. Well, for one, I get the sense that you really value it because is that why your agency is called Pixel Media?
Pixel Feed, yeah, the Pixel tracks everything. So I was like, I need a name. We talked about this before. So if you look me up, you're gonna see Lovrecich Media and you're gonna see Pixel Feed. Lovrecich Media was when people were hitting me up to help them at first, and I was like, I'm not starting an agency. There's no way. And when I say agency, a small agency, a boutique agency. I have no desire to have like one of those huge agencies. I have my own brands and stuff like that. So that's enough. But I like helping people in certain brands. So that's why I do it. But I'm like, what am I going to name it? And it was one of those days I was in a hurry. I was like, you know what? I'll just put my name on it. It's easy. The domain won't be taken. It's my name, Lovrecich Media. And then, it's my name. So I forget like literally 3/4 of the world can't pronounce it. Then I always have to spell it. It's a pain in the ass to remember. And it just like, at one point I was like, all right, if I'm going to launch the YouTube channel and everything else along with, I can't keep naming everything Lovrecich Media. It's just people are not going to remember. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass to spell. I was like, okay, what's something in the industry? Something in the industry like Pixel. I go, Pixel, Pixel Feed, the news feed, the feed of the ads coming to you. I was like, Pixel Feed. And I was like, I think there was something named like it. I was like, well, take the E off. And there you go. Pixel Feed.
Well, so, I haven't talked to anybody who's integrated that into their branding. So, you're the first. So it definitely, it still stands out despite it being a term that people have heard of. So what I would like is for you to just walk us through some of the basics of the Pixel, like how to nourish it early on. And second question, a little bit slightly more advanced, not almost to the point where I shouldn't have said advanced, but our pixel, is it per campaign or is it like one pixel for all of the different, let's just say I'm running multiple stores. Am I using one pixel per store or is it one pixel per account or just just really the basics of how to understand and how to nourish the pixel?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it's changed throughout the years. Listen, there was ways to hack results back in the day, not anymore. This hasn't happened in years. Well, you will use the same pixel. I mean, you can still do it. You can share the pixel with other accounts. Because, okay, let me take it to the basics and explain it for people that don't know how this works. So the pixel, the Facebook pixel, and Facebook has a pixel, Snapchat, it's just a piece of code. It's literally a script that you add to the header of your website. And all it's doing is you can write into that piece of code, for example, page views, view content, for example, if you go to a page for a product. Add to cart, it will keep track of you as a user ID because it knows your ID for Facebook. So it goes, Christian user ID, blah, 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 blah. Clicked on add to cart and it sends that information back to Facebook. So now my pixel's tracking an add to cart. Okay. Or if I buy something, Christian purchased something for $150 on Tuesday at 9 p.m., on his Amex or whatever, it knows all of this. It has all that data. So what made Facebook so powerful is like they're one of the first of integrating the pixel into their ad platform. So when you have all these people adding that pixel to their website, it's keeping track of every single movement from everyone that doesn't even have a Facebook account. It just goes, oh, this is a shoe. Somebody bought it for 150. Put them in that pool of data. So if somebody wants to throw an ad of shoes, we'll show it to those type of people. So the pixel sends the information back to the account. And all the information, it's held at the account level and it's tracked. So what the pixel does, and this is, before the whole Apple deal, it will track it for 180 days and you will keep this data, and you can actually go to Facebook and pick, hey, Facebook, grab the people that have bought from me in the past 60 days and multiply that by 1% of the United States or the world and give me an audience with those data points. And that's what makes Facebook so powerful, because now I have 10 new audiences that are people who buy my stuff, but they're different people that have never seen my product. So the chances of them taking action on a purchase with that product are going to be pretty high because Facebook has the data and it's matching it up. So it's just a constant piece of code that sends the information back to Facebook or the platform itself. And then you can use that data to your advantage to create audiences, objectives. So if I want a lead, I'll optimize for leads. Some Facebook will match the 2 and 2 together. When you're talking about using the same pixel in multiple stores, absolutely, you can do that. I mean, I wouldn't, if it's the stores exactly the same type of product, sure, but I wouldn't recommend that because then your pixel data is going to be all messed up. You can share your pixel with multiple ad accounts. If you have a brand new ad account, you want to have a head start, you can share the pixel with it, and it's going to take advantage of that data that they already have. So the learning phase is smaller. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes Facebook and every single app so powerful, because all that data goes back to the platform and they keep track of all of that and they store all that data. And that's what, Apple's trying to block and keep for themselves for many reasons.
that have yet to be revealed. I'll say that much, but I'm going to have fun speculating. All right, cool. So that actually helped clear a couple of things. I will say this just so you understand how, even though we were going through the basics, how helpful it actually was. And by the way, this might actually be true too. So I'll also frame it as a question. But I guess I was thinking that the pixel is actually collecting information on Facebook as opposed to collecting information outside of it, because you said it's code that I put on my website. So does it acquire information internally, or is it only external information?
The information, you mean in the actual, like when you're in the platform itself?
Yeah. Like if
no, the pixel
okay.
only acquires. Okay, so the pixel only acquires external information that script is sending back to Facebook. Now on the platform itself, Facebook has heat maps. They record you every single movement. They have key loggers. They know. I mean, they know even when you type in your race set, that's all logged. That's all tracked. They know. I have metrics where I can see where you stop. Like I call it thumb stop scroll. That's how I know if my video ad's working. In my thumb stop scroll, it's at 20%. That means you stop to look at it. So they can see all that. Like even in my stores, I can literally record you while you're in their live and watch your every single movement and what you're doing in my store, like a security camera. So they don't need the pixel for that because it's inside their own ecosystem. They can see everything. At that point, there's nothing that gets in the way. At one point when they talk, it's more accurate server to server API, where you send information directly from the server back to Facebook, not the pixel, because the pixel is not perfect. Sometimes it gets blocked by an app or your ad blocker or whatever. So server to server is always going to be better. If you can do that, it's very expensive if you have to set it up the real way, but Shopify has a way they do it and it works okay. But again, it's going to be blocked by freaking Apple, when it rolls out. So that's what they're trying to do. So what Facebook is trying to do is basically what Amazon did back in the day, is that they built everything inside their own ecosystem, even their ads. So they know everything. They don't have to worry about Apple trying to block them, because you can't block the platform inside of what's inside.
Right.
They just can't. So Facebook has Facebook Shops, Instagram Shops. That's why they rolled it out so quickly, like 6 months ago. They're like, oh no, we need Shops now. That's why you went on Instagram, they moved the shop button to the bottom. So it's there all the time to make you get used to it and use it. Because inside Instagram, inside Facebook, they can see everything, and it's better than the pixel. So that's going to be the evolution. I think the evolution here is going to be, they eventually want you to move to the Facebook Shops and Instagram. I don't know if that's going to work, because I wouldn't trust Facebook with my cash transactions. If you had ad accounts, it's dangerous to just rely on Facebook for everything. The other thing that Facebook's been working on, where you wouldn't even need the pixel anymore, is the reason why they bought Oculus. They're going after building a world like Ready Player One. It's already in beta. I've seen it. You're going to literally go in virtual reality, and that's why NFT is so huge right now. That's why crypto. At one point, they were building their own crypto. They want to have their own currency. They did at one point. It was called Libra. It's you're going to go in virtually. Our kids are going to go in there. It's like normal. It's just a virtual world. And we have, NFTs, which is whatever you buy, and cryptocurrency. And guess what? Everything you do in that world, it's tracked. So at that point, it's going to be the most, I can't even imagine what the ads are going to be like and the conversions and all that stuff, because it's going to be insane. So yeah, it's data tracking. It's all tracking. And, and the pixel, you can create, custom conversions too. I can track, like I can go in there and manipulate the code and change it to, sales page 1. So I know that you landed on page 1 of my funnel, and I want to use that audience specifically to retarget you with a message that goes back to that page only. So I can talk to you directly. It's not just a generic ad. So that's, it's stuff like that you can do with the external pixel itself.
That's incredible. I mean, there's some of it is, my tinfoil hat dystopian paranoia setting in, but I've been paranoid in the past, man. and nothing happened.
I'm telling you, I tell everybody, it's like, it's too late. It's already too late, man. For as long as you had this phone here, and I'm not saying iPhone, just any phone, you're done. It's already there. It's there. There's nothing you can do about it. You gave it all away as soon as you went on Facebook or Google. So it is what it is.
All right. Is that the note that I want to end on? I think so. I think pretty much. I'm just going to say one more time. I had a blast. I really did. It was so great to be able to just hear your opinion, and hopefully I was able to contribute something of value on my end of the conversation. Not that I appreciate it. So I'm going to give you a wrap-up question. And by the way, door is always open. If you want to come back and...
same here, man. Just shoot me an email anytime. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, terrific. So yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it, because there's certainly numerous things to unpack. I only just learned about NFTs, and I'm actually kind of enthusiastic about it. And that's like a whole other can of worms.
Don't even get me started. Yeah. I haven't bought one yet, but it's like... I'm just being careful. Let's just put it that way. There's a bowl. I think there's a bowl right now, but that's just me. I'm not an expert in that area. So
yeah, but to the audience, assuming that NFTs haven't taken over the world in the 2 months between now and release, they're interesting, and I'll leave it at that. So final question for you. It's in 2 parts. Number 1, if you have any parting insights or wisdoms or advice, or like a saying you like, anything along those lines, you're more than welcome to share it with us. And then just let the audience know how they can find you and enjoy your content.
Sure. So I don't know, man. I don't even know where to start. This is what I tell everybody all the time, because people ask me, it's like, what would you recommend? I was like, listen, right now it's do what you want to do. If you hate your job, it's like we talked earlier in the podcast. It's like, just do a little bit of research, man. All the information's there. If you want to run ads, I got my YouTube channel. Like literally, I just looked at it the other day. It's like 180 videos on digital marketing, and at least 100 of them is how to run Facebook ads. You watch that playlist, you'll know how to run Facebook ads by the end. Like, there shouldn't be an issue of why you shouldn't. So we're in the creator economy. We're doing this. Like, I just posted in my actual personal Facebook. I started a podcast a year ago where I literally record 20 minutes once a week. My thoughts. It's about nothing. The joke, it's like it's Seinfeld. It's about nothing. It's just whatever's in my head in those 20 minutes, and that's it. There's no preparation. There's nothing. And I just hit 1,000 downloads. I didn't do anything special. I just consistency. That's all it was. So it's the creator economy. If you want to do something that's related to what you love or something you're into, go for it, man. This is the time to do it, because these algorithms keep getting powerful. Like I just explained the pixel, there's no saturation. The pixel will find your tribe. The algorithm will say, okay, you're on YouTube and you're into, baseball bats. Here, I know who the baseball bat hardcore fans are. I'm going to put your video in front of them. And it just happens, man. But you just got to be consistent about it. So if you're going to start something, just be consistent, be patient, and it will pay off at the end. And where people can find me, podcast, Pixel Feed Radio. I talk to entrepreneurs, their stories of how they started their business, they got to where they're at today. Anywhere from, Joe Schmo, who just started, a little restaurant and, in their local, city, to Fortune 50 freaking CEOs. It's crazy. Then I have Pixel Feed on YouTube. Just search Pixel Feed in my name, Christian Lovrecich, and the channel will come up with over 180 videos. And then Pixel Feed Media. That's my small boutique agency. We concentrate on e-commerce brands. We're growing from 6 figures to 7, 8, and 9 or more. That's if you're a brand that it's proven to do sales, you're already doing sales, whether it's offline or online. we will come in and talk to you and take it to the next level. So pixelfeedmedia.com.
All right, fantastic. And I was wondering if I had expressed enough of my paranoia that I want to shout out an emergency food preparation kit, but I'll wait until they actually sponsor me. So with that, audience, as always, it is an honor to be able to create this content and share it with all of you. So thank you for your participation. Christian Lovrecich, once more, it's been a blast. So it's it's been an honor to have you here. I really mean that.
I really enjoyed it, man. Anytime you want to have me back on, just shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to hop on with you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, take care, and we will check in soon.
My name is, do you kind of want the backstory of how, or we want to get into that stuff later? Just maybe.
Hey, this is Joseph from Ecomonics. Just wanted to thank you for being here and for giving this content your time and attention. I hope you learned something. I can say with certainty, I have learned something with every episode that I have done, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. There's a couple things you can do to help us out. If you want to check out the audio content, we are available on all major podcast platform distributors. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review. It helps a lot. And while you're here on YouTube, there's a lot of things you can do to help out as well. It's not going to take very long. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button for this episode, and hit the notification bell so when we have new content for you, it's going to be at your doorstep ASAP. Lastly, this podcast is created by Debutify, the best Shopify template available. It is 100% free for you to start, and it can change your life. It can make you so much more free than you are right now. So if this episode wasn't enough to convince you, I think a few more might do the trick. So have at it.